What if I told you that you could achieve any goal you set for yourself simply by feeling great, by feeling good right here, right now? Does that sound too good to be true to you? Well, I'm going to tell you through this video and hopefully remind you that this really is one of the most important parts of our consciousness. If you can feel good right now, wherever you stand, well then the ideas in your consciousness will improve so much. They will change so much for the better that therefore your physical reality can change around for the better, because ultimately all we do is based on the ideas that we think within our minds. So we want to work with great ideas, and in order to attract great ideas, we're going to have to feel great. So I hope you're ready to start feeling great. Let's get into it.
You can change the dream. Change it by simply daring to assume that you are now what reason is going to tell you, that you're not it now, and it's difficult to imagine that you ever will be it. Forget that. All things are possible to God, and you found who He is. He is your own wonderful human imagination. That's God. So assume it, and then let it happen in your world. I'll give you a little secret. People say, I work so hard at it. Imagination will do little that we seek from compulsion. It will do little, if anything, until we have imagined the wish fulfilled. It does not move under compulsion. We have to imagine the wish fulfilled for imagination to take action. So when people will tell you, but I work so hard at it, well, that's why you're failing. If you really believe that all things are possible to God, and God is your own wonderful human imagination, and His ways are higher than your mortal level, well then, what are you interfering with that state for? Assume the end, and don't work it at all. You'll be moving under compulsion to manifest it, if you simply assume it and let it be. What do you do after someone is pregnant? Just let it be. And if you don't, if you interfere with it, you're going to perform a certain miscarriage. Well, the same thing is true of a mental miscarriage. You simply assume that you are and go about your business. And when you least expect it, you'll feel the evidence of it coming into your world. And then you can speak with the authority of experience.
All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back. In today's video I wanted to talk about the importance of how you feel on a daily basis, because the greater you feel, the better the ideas will become that you attract to yourself, ideas that can help you change your life. We always come back to this fact that if we want to change our lives, we got to change our minds. Now, Neville Goddard, in this audio that I shared with you just a few seconds ago, talked about how you can change the state that you're in. When we talk about states, we're talking about how you feel emotionally and align it with what you desire to have for your physical reality. Because ultimately, when he ended it, he said, you learn to speak with the authority of experience. Well, we all have the experience. The problem being, most people don't spend time really analyzing their own consciousness, and therefore they're not aware of how their emotional states are actually influencing the way that they're living. But if we really think about this, if we just consider this concept that how you feel determines how you will live your life, it actually makes a lot of sense. Because I always like to point out to people, if you feel bad, you don't feel like doing good things in the world. However, if you feel great, if you feel good, well then you're compelled to act accordingly. Then you don't want to treat others or yourself in a negative way. And that's what we want to do. Because if life is going to be meaningful for any of us, well, the meaningful part to our lives is mostly, if not entirely, dependent on how we actually feel about our lives. So this is why I want to grasp that feeling good right now, right here and now, is the secret to manifesting anything that you can ever desire to have for yourself and your life. Now this brings us to the point where we should really be honest with ourselves. How good do you feel on a daily basis? I know ups and downs are part of life. You feel good, you feel bad. It happens all the time. Stuff happens that you don't like, you feel temporarily bad. But how many people are stuck in negativity? They're simply stuck emotionally in a negative state, even though the event that they were negative about to begin with might have been already a long time ago. This is essentially what traumas are, mental trauma specifically. They're like being possessed, being controlled by an event from our past that was highly negative to us, but it's still controlling us and our behavior. Therefore, we can't be free, and therefore we can't express and create the life that we really desire to have, because the past is holding us back. This feeling good right now is the remedy to anything that has ever held you back throughout your lifetime. So I hope you'll consider it as well, and consider it deeply. How do you feel on a daily basis? Is it good or bad? Or is it somewhere in between, where you're like, I'm all right, but I don't feel great, I also don't feel horrible. Now just imagine and commit to the concept that you want to start feeling great, no matter what. You just want to start feeling great right here, right now. Do whatever you can in order to feel great right this second, and watch how it influences your way of thinking and the ideas that you start to attract. Because by becoming consciously aware of this process, you're in the position to direct your life into a greater direction, physically speaking. So it starts inside. It starts on the emotional level of our being, and that ultimately influences the physical side of our existence. Now, feeling great, no matter the cost. There's always a word of warning here, because I think as people become addicted to drugs or alcohol, they are, in essence, trying to search for a way to feel better. They don't feel good about their lives currently, so they want to numb their minds. They want to get their awareness to go away from what's bothering them so much, so they take a drug. It will change your emotional state, but only temporary. And another part that is terrible about using drugs in order to feel good is that it also puts you in withdrawal. So this is just a word of warning to people out there when I make the statement, feel great no matter the cost. Well, you want to do it with wisdom. Wisdom would mean feeling great at your own pace, or at your own strength. I think that's a better way of putting it. If you can feel good right now because you decided it consciously, well, you can see the power that you hold. Because then, again, you don't need to take drugs or alcohol. So let's get away from that right now, because we're all aware that it's not the best way to go about our business in life, being drunk or high or crazy on drugs. So what is left? Well, what is left is to ask yourself sincerely and honestly, what could you do right now, this moment, in order to feel better? Like so many people, they just accept feeling bad about life. They accept negativity because, in a way, it is part of life, but we don't want to accept it in a way where we also don't make the effort of outgrowing the negativity that we might face, physically and emotionally. So in order to change our physical and emotional states, especially the inner states of the mind, you want to place yourself again in imagination, in the fulfillment of your desire. You want to feel as if you already achieved whatever you want. How would you feel if your life was now the way you would want it to be? Again, this question to yourself will alter your emotional state. This change in emotional state will then alter the ideas that you attract. These new ideas will then help you to create a different reality for yourself, because anything that you will and have achieved so far were based on ideas you thought in the past. So this is why in the previous video I said, if you feel good, it brings good ideas. If we feel bad, it can only bring bad ideas. So the secret of manifestation is to feel great even if it's not here physically. Even if your life is physically not the way you really want it to be. If you can but just learn to feel good right now, well, then your physical life can change accordingly. It sounds kind of like a paradox. It sounds really bizarre in a way for most people, because they're like, I really want this for my life. I have these issues. I want to change this, Renil. If this changes, then I'll feel good. Like if I would tell you right now, if somebody gave you $1 million, would you feel good about that? Would you feel like, hey, that's pretty awesome? Most people would say, well, then I would feel good. But what if I tell you, if you feel great right now, even if you didn't have the $1 million, you are increasing your chances of achieving that goal, if that's a goal you have. It's just dependent on you and your goals. But if you had that goal and you feel great already before having it, you dramatically increase the odds of actually achieving that in your lifetime. It's kind of fascinating, but the reason for this is the emotional state determines our behavior. It determines anything, consciously and subconsciously, on how we act. This is why we're called upon to control our own minds. It's also a saying in scriptures, lock thy secret and magnify the Lord. Well, a different way of putting this is, you want to lock yourself into your dreams and magnify the state within yourself. Become totally consumed by what you desire. So consider the idea of happiness, of love, of well-being, of wealth, of success, whatever you're after, and consider it from an emotional state. Consider not just the idea imaginally and through your imagination and mentally. You want to also invoke your emotions so that you become consumed. You want to literally become possessed by the good feelings that you can invoke within your own being. Now this is tricky for most people because we're not taught this. We're not taught this in school. We're not usually raised with the idea that we can control our emotional states. But you can, because your consciousness is yours and it's yours to control. But you can let other people control it. You can let circumstances control you mentally and emotionally. If you're in bad circumstances, you can allow them to influence you on an emotional basis. But you can also disregard circumstances and still feel great. Because the greater you feel, the better the ideas you attract into your consciousness. The better the ideas, the better you can build your life into a new direction. The secret of feeling. Feeling is the secret, is something that Neville talked about. And it's so true, because we can all imagine what we want, but without feeling, without being emotionally tied to the dream, we're never compelled to act on it. Ideas are only acted upon once we feel them deeply within our own selves, within our consciousness, within and through our entire being. So what you want to start doing every single day is consider how you can invoke good feelings for yourself with wisdom, through wise acts. You don't want to use drugs, as we said before. You want to learn to do it consciously with a clear mind. Because once you learn to do this, your future is in your total control. Your destiny grows out of the inner states of your own mind. So the greater the states of your own mind, the greater your destiny can become and will become, because you'll become a better and greater version of yourself, as we always like to talk about in these videos. This is why we have to keep remembering that it's not so much about thinking and imagining, but mostly about feeling. Are you emotionally in harmony with what you desire? Do you feel excited about where you're going with your life? You want to create a scene in your imagination of the fulfillment of your desire. You want to imagine the fulfillment in such a way that it invokes an emotional response within you. So you start to ask yourself, what sort of life, what sort of event would you face if you had now achieved your dream, your goal? If your life was now the way you want it to be, what would you actually experience physically? You start to imagine that, and then you put yourself into that scene. You don't just look at yourself as if you are from the third person looking at yourself going through the scene. You want to do it from the first person, like you're experiencing your physical reality right now. Through imagination, you want to do everything as if you've already achieved whatever you desire physically. Then it will start to alter your emotional state. You start to feel more excited. You start to become so enthused about this bright future that you see within your mind that it will keep you compelled every single day to do what needs to be done in order to get there. And the beautiful part about this is that you don't really have to worry about what needs to be done at all. The only thing that needs to be done is for you to stay in harmony with your dream, and you do that through your emotional state. You do that by feeling good right now, right here, right now. Because if you feel good right now, right here and now, well then the future will take care of itself in a beautiful way for you. Again, through analyzing your own life so far, and perhaps other people if you want, you will clearly see that people who live in a negative emotional state are constantly living a negative life. If you feel bad, you're not able to live a good life. But the only purpose to life is to, one, feel good, and to two, discover who you really are, what you really are, what your consciousness is all about. Because that awareness is what you take with you beyond the grave. this physical body right now is just a temporary thing that we're using to discover who and what we really are. And what you really are is pretty much, you can't describe it really, because it's beyond immortal perceptions altogether for the most part. But the good news is, the greater you feel right now, the easier it is to manifest your dreams and goals in life. Again, analyze it very clearly. How do you feel on a daily basis? Do you feel good? Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel good about where you're going with your life? Because so many times, I can talk to people in private and they have these goals. And they're like, I would love to achieve this. They know they want it. But emotionally speaking, they don't feel great at all. Or at least they might feel great for a few seconds. But most of the time they're feeling very negative. And you know what happens? If you feel negative and you start to try to think of your dreams, you're approaching them from a negative angle. Subconsciously perhaps. But if you feel great constantly, as much as possible, you do whatever you can in order to feel great right here, right now. That great feeling will cause you to look at your dreams from a positive angle. And that positive angle will cause you to become a magnetic force. Becomes magnet to your own dream. Another way of putting this is, I once heard it like, it's not so much that we want to chase our dreams, that we want to obsess over achieving our dreams. The goal is for us to catch up to our own dreams. It's like your dream is already there in your mind. It's already, you can clearly see it in your mind if you focus on it. But the goal for us is to catch up to those imaginary states on a physical side of life. And in order to do that, we have to feel great when thinking and imagining those dreams in our consciousness. Because then we'll constantly be compelled to keep going, to keep growing. You can clearly see that if you feel bad, you don't feel compelled or motivated to keep growing. But if you feel great about it, if you just feel great, you'll be compelled to keep growing in the right direction with your life. And it's going to get better and better and better. It's an absolute spiritual law of life. Feeling great all the time. Man, it took me a long time to figure this one out. If I just feel great right now, no matter where I stand in life, my reality feels so much better, so much sweeter. That is exactly what it's all about. Because even if you had achieved your dreams physically, new dreams will start to occur in your consciousness. And man, if you just feel good right now, you'll keep growing towards bigger and bigger things for yourself. And you'll be able to share it with your friends and family. That's beautiful as well, right? They'll benefit from it. They'll benefit from you feeling great all the time. Now, if you feel bad as well at times, it's not a big deal. The point that we're trying to stress here, brothers and sisters, is that if you could just learn to feel good and great most of your time, well then your life experience is also going to be great. There is no other way than it can be. This is, again, the secret of manifestation. Do not underestimate it. You might really have to consider this deeply for yourself, because perhaps you've always let your moods be sort of going subconsciously without direction by you, but you yourself are in control not only of your imagination but also of your emotional self. It takes some training at first perhaps, but understand, anything that you keep working at, you'll get better at it. And this is one of those techniques again that you seriously want to consider for yourself. Again, if you just feel great, just get full of the feeling of greatness, of success, possibilities, and let it dominate your consciousness. Become possessed by what you desire, and then just watch what happens. Most people, sadly, are not possessed by their dreams. They're possessed by doubts, limitations, worries, fears, contradicting ideas. But you want to become possessed by what you desire. If you become possessed by your dream, there is no other thing that can happen than for you to achieve such a marvelous dream. Let that sink in. Because once you grasp this, then you'll start to demonstrate. And then you understand that you yourself can speak from the authority of experience. Because this, my dear friends, is exactly what happens for me. The greater I feel, the greater the ideas in my consciousness. the greater the ideas, the better the results are becoming in my physical life. I know this from experience because I'm working with it, and I'm daring you to do the same. Just feel great. Don't be obsessed with the physical world. Stop doing it. You might have big dreams and goals for your life, but just feel great, even if they aren't achieved yet. Feel great by feeling great, by knowing that when you feel great, you're on the road towards manifestation, towards manifesting, towards realizing your greatest desires. A greater reality yet to come. It's waiting for you to align with that desire. In order to align with it, you gotta just feel great. Feel great no matter what. Just work on it. Watch how it starts to color your thoughts in a better direction. Watch how you're compelled to act more positive, to help people in a better way, to be of better and greater service to humanity. Because ultimately, that is how you'll get what you want. You start helping other people get what they want, they'll help you get whatever you want. It's a beautiful concept because ultimately, we're all brothers and sisters. We're all in this together, this life journey. So we want to cooperate and make things happen together. And the best way to cooperate is if everyone is operating from a wonderful emotional state, from a feeling, place of greatness, of passion, of love, of happiness, success. Catch the mood of fulfilled desires, and you'll be able to manifest your dreams. Because contradicting ideas and feelings, well, that's what they are. Contradicting the very thing you want to see and want to happen for you and your world. So let me stress it one more time. Get full of the feeling of what you want, and then let it dominate your consciousness and live within that mood, morning, noon, and night. At first it might be tricky, keep working at it, because once you've experienced that you can actually feel great regardless of your reality, physically speaking, well then you'll know what you need to do. You need to keep doing it. That's all there is to it. Because as you keep doing it, you'll be inspired, you'll be compelled, you'll be motivated in new ways that will ultimately alter your reality. Keep this clearly in mind, that this is one of the most important parts to manifesting, or in other words, realizing your dreams on this great planet called Earth. So there you go. Really think about this video. In this video we talked about mostly the emotional states that we find ourselves in. Are they good states or bad states? Are you feeling good most of the time or bad? You know, there's so many people out there that feel absolutely horrible most of the time, and they wonder why their life is horrible. Well, if you start feeling great all the time, if you start making the effort, putting in the effort to feel better each and every day, no matter the cost, but do it with wisdom, as we said, well then you'll discover that your life can truly improve. Because ultimately it's the emotional states in which we find ourselves that will ultimately compel us to act the way we act. So the more we train ourselves to feel us with our wish fulfilled, the faster we will see evidence that yes, our life can and must improve by using this to our advantage. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.